me, if you had asked me what I would be doing today, I wouldn't have had a clue. I've never really been much of a planner anyway, so I probably wouldn't have given it a great deal of thought. I take things as they come. I like to think I'm just open to opportunities. When I moved to Park City 20 years ago, from the Central Coast of California with my husband and young son, I did have an intention and a plan. I decided to forego and give up my professional career in health information technology, and I was going to become a full-time fiber artist. Part of being a fiber artist is weaving and spinning and knitting, creating beautiful goods for the home and to wear. And I didn't just want to keep doing that. I wanted to raise my own fiber animals. Thus, I got into goat herding. Two of my favorite fibers, well, I have many favorite fibers, but cashmere and angora. And those come from goats. And I was fortunate, when I moved here, to be able to buy a place to live that had some acreage. So my first order of business was to build a barn with my husband. That almost resulted in a divorce. But we were successful. The barn went up, and I started acquiring goats. I learned a lot about goat herding along the way. Now, I was pretty well read on the subject, given that I had no experience, and I found a lot of friends who knew a great deal more than I do. One of my theories is if you want to get good at something, hang out with people who are better than you and know more. So I started with 5 to 7 goats, a manageable herd, and one of the first things I learned was goats are not self-sufficient. They require a lot of care and attention, and it takes a lot of money to keep that herd healthy, happy, and productive. So I had to return to my full-time career to support the goats, to support my fiber artistry. Well, one thing about goats, and probably most of you may be vaguely aware of this, they're incredibly fertile. I learned quickly there is nothing that will keep a male goat in rut from a female goat in season. Not a 7-foot fence, not a pasture, not my body, nothing. So over the course of several years, my small goat herd, 5 to 7, morphed into 50 to 60. Yes, my neighbors were equally shocked. And I discovered after about 10 years of this, I had no time for fiber artistry. I had no time for social life. I had no time for anything, and those goats had to go. So I ended up contacting the meat market. I also ate an awful lot of goat. Sold goats, gave goats away. The goats dispersed. Also along this time, my 25-year marriage ended. And somewhere during all this goat raising, my son managed to grow up pretty much being raised as a member of the herd and left home. And I found myself, all of a sudden, I was the one everyone depended on and needed, and all of a sudden nobody did. No goats, no husband, no child. Oh, and no job. I lost my job about that same time. So I found myself rather adrift, financially, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. And through a series of events, chance encounters, fortuitous events that I really could not have predicted and didn't even plan, I discovered harp therapy. And just briefly, harp therapy is not really, it's therapeutic harp music, it's not music therapy. What I do with the harp, what I've been trained to do, is to use music to form a bridge between me, the player, and my patients. And just for a brief moment, while I am playing harp for them, my goal is to transport them from a place of stress and anxiety and pain and suffering to someplace better. And sometimes that's moments from their past, and sometimes that's maybe their dream for the future. It's not healing. I'm not curing people with the harp. I'm really just helping them relax and go someplace better for a brief period of time. I would like to say it sounds a little woo-woo if you're not familiar with it, but there really is scientific research to support the benefits of harp therapy. when people are connected to monitors for their heart rate and their respirations and other body functions, there are definite signs of improvement, and I have a lot of peer-reviewed research studies to prove the benefits. I didn't know I would be doing this even 10 years ago. I didn't even know how to play the harp 10 years ago. I was just trying to get rid of goats. I believe it was Buddha who said, there are many paths up the mountain. I do know it's not about the destination. It is really about the journey. And I don't know what I'm going to be doing in another 10 years, but I'd like to think I'm open to the opportunity.